Te reo ererangi o te mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
Today, the oceans hold their breath as we journey into Ringlet and the Day the Oceans Stop, by Felicity Williams, published by Ahoy, an imprint of the Cuba Press in 2019. Join Libby as waves of mystery, courage and wonder sweep us into an unforgettable adventure. Part 2, The Derby. Chapter 7, Ringlet arrives late. Dusk had fallen when they finally left the Salon Chantelle. Evening hung down through the quiet waters like a raggedy curtain. Merfolk hurried past them, eager to get home before dark. Chignon tickled the bell-pull eel under the gills. "Excuse me," she said. "We need somewhere to sleep." The eel coiled himself into a sleek figure-of-8 knot. "There's a many and one show motels," he said. "2 turns down. Here, a complimentary biolume." He gave Chignon a tailfish torch. "Minding my own business," said the eel. "But there is something strange and peliferous attempting to exit behind you. Whatever it is, it needs to get on with it, because as well as the bell pull, I'm also the night security guard, and it's time to lock up." Chignon swung around and shone the torch. An enormous, billowy hairstyle was trying to squash through the door. "Chignon, help! You were right. I should have chosen a simpler hairstyle. Small, or medium, not grande." Chignon dived under Ringlet and started to push him behind. She wanted to say, "I told you so," but that would be a spontaneous outburst of emotion, and that was something she was trying to control. She shut her mouth tightly so as not to let any ill-considered words escape. Oh dear, ever since she'd come across this new Mergirl, life had got more complicated. And what was that noise? In the distance, as she pushed, trying her best to do it politely, because, after all, it was someone's backside, Chignon could hear the sound of rowdy laughter. A current was approaching. She knew by the look and sound of it that it was the adventurer, and it would be packed with sharky Finn boys. The thought of all those Finn boys seeing her squashed in a doorway, doing battle with a disembodied hairdo, would be something she would never live down. "There's a mob of Finn boys coming this way," she said to Ringlet. "We'll be laughed at." "Don't worry," said Ringlet. "It's not as if laughter's a germ that is going to make you sick." But Chignon, who had never even thought of laughter as a germ, was now thinking that perhaps it might be. And her nervousness increased as the laughter got louder. "I think a bunch of curls are snagged on a rock," said Ringlet. "So, can you try pulling instead of pushing?" "I told you. I am trying," said Chignon. But no one ever said turning yourself into an exact replica of Dame Marie Fichinette was going to be easy. She never walked through a door without measuring it first. "Keep wiggling. You're nearly through." "Oh dear, here they are. Quick, if we both wiggle and fling our arms around, it'll look like we're practicing a new dance routine." Ringlet wasn't sure about Chignon's logic, but she was the one who got it into the situation. So she wiggled and flung her arms around, and Chignon flung and wiggled. And the eel uncoiled from the figure-of-8 knot, and Although having no arms, he could not fling. His wiggling was most definitely out there. As the entire current full of Sharky boys pointed and hooted, Ringlet couldn't resist adding a small bob to the wiggle and fling. And that did it. A small whoosh. And La Pouth, with herself attached, was squished through the door. "It worked," she said. "Your idea. Hey, look, those Finn boys are joining in." "No," said Chignon, bright red with spots of embarrassment on both cheeks. "They're making fun of us." "You haven't messed up my hair, have you?" said Ringlet. Chignon shone the torch onto Ringlet. "That hairdo's as solid as schist," she said. "And your merdog too. Cross fingers his ribbons don't unravel. Come on now, we need to find the Minnie and Winnie." "And then an early start tomorrow," Chignon frowned. "Let's hope Madame appreciates the trouble you've gone to." "Surely she will forgive us for being a teeny bit late," said Ringlet as they swam along together. "A whole daylight, actually," said Chignon, holding the fish torch out in front of her. "Take a right turn here. You're allowed to make mistakes. She'll forgive you." "She doesn't do forgiveness," said Chignon. "The last time I made a mistake, I was plonked into a timeout shell. For my own good, of course. But you can end up forgotten for weeks, months even. If it hadn't been for remembering Merpunctilia's class on positive visualization and that bored rubberfish swimming past with a spanner. Another right turn here. You got lucky?" said Ringlet. "Madame doesn't believe in luck either. She says it's all got to be meticulously planned. The future, that is. Here we are. Wow." Chignon and Ringlet found themselves in front of a labyrinth of watery corridors. The corridors were crammed full of cushioned sleep shells, piled on top of each other. Each shell had a driftwood post sticking up from the base. And at the top of the post was a glowing lantern and a dome. Spilling down from the dome flowed the palest of pink currents. As the current gusted in and around, the sleep shells rocked gently from side to side. "A lullaby current," said Chignon. "No wonder this place is so popular." "Let's go up the top," said Ringlet, "for the view." Without waiting for Chignon's response, she slid onto the stream of water that was floating upwards. Swinging just below the top, they located two empty pastel sleeping shells side by side. "Perfect," said Chignon, sinking into a blanket of fragrant moss. "Oh my goodness, there's music as well." She shut her eyes. She was bone-weary from everything that had happened during the day. There was never an escape from responsibility, which loomed even as she closed her eyes. The ivory slab appearing, towering above her, filled with tasks, each one growing more difficult as the list grew longer. She fell asleep trying to tick things off. Ringlet didn't feel like sleeping. She looked down at Isky beside her. He looked a bit scrawny, she thought, and one ribbon was loose. She tied it up, patted his soft head, and stole a look at Chignon next to her. Even asleep, she still wore that anxious look, and every now and then a small bleat of worry escaped from her lips. Ringlet opened her handbag. She could smell it. The memory munchie, best eaten under a full moon, the Ginner had said. But she couldn't wait. She reached in, carefully pressed a scrap of the cookie into her fingers and placed it between her lips. She waited. "Come on now." She lay down. "Maybe it works if I shut my eyes." Still nothing. She sat up. Something needs to happen. She lay down again. "Well, that's disappointment, isn't it?" The lullaby current surged up with its repetitive tune. The most annoying thing I've ever heard. She would complain about it tomorrow. Ringlet could see something floating towards her. It was the prettiest shade of blush coral. A boutique, she thought, and on the outside there was some fancy writing. Ning tweak, dog, sister, tail, core, and embellment. A beautiful door handle in the shape of wings, covered with glittering gemstones. The door opened. A loud ding-dong shattered the quiet. She saw a Mergirl. Me! Green-haired and bedraggled, with a murdog cradled in her arms. And it's a full of merwomen with merdogs. And there's an old mer lady swimming upstairs. And I'm upstairs behind her, and she's talking. The great, eternal restlessness is fading. What do you want me to do? She who sleeps must wake. 1 drop per day. My last bottle of time is running out. And that was it. The voice has faded. Ringlet slipped back into herself and slept. They were woken up by a series of thuds outside the Shell Motel. Chignon sat bolt upright. Bother, 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 she blurted out, trying to suppress the panic. We've slipped in. That lullaby current. I knew I shouldn't have risked closing my eyes. She leaned across and shook her friend. Everyone has left. Ages ago. Oh, Ringlet, come on! The mermaid rolled over and sat up, yawning. It's not worth giving yourself warts over, she said. I'm sure we can make it up in time. And by the way, where's your merdog? Huh? Said Chignon. She sneaked a quick look at her tail. So far, so good. At least as far as warts were concerned. Oh, Nerky's gone to a summer sea camp. Platita organised it. She said it would free me up to concentrate on my list and... Come on, now! Have you ever heard of the place called the Clag? Said Ringlet. Thoughts were streaming in a very disorganised way through her mind. Of course I have, said Chignon. It's a made-up place to stop mer babies from swimming off by themselves and getting lost. And what's that got to do with anything? Something awful's happening, said Ringlet. She who sleeps must wake. What's awful? Is that it's Derby Day and we're horribly late, said Chignon. And as for sleeping and waking, you need to concentrate on the waking part. Right now. No, said Ringlet. There were more thuds. Yes, said Chignon. Believe me, you do. Ringlet glanced at Pearl Promenade below. It was full with mollusks of all shapes and sizes, moving along in a series of clumps and bumps. Chignon was already halfway down, spinning towards the exit. Ringlet flung off her blanket, grabbed Isky, and hurried to catch up. Listen, Chignon! Traffic jam, said Chignon, whose frown was deepening by the minute. The oysters hate Derby Day, but Madame says it's good for them to socialise. A couple of bounces, then they bury themselves in sand. And that's the last you see of them, and they litter terribly. Litter? Said Ringlet. She opened her handbag and peered inside, as they both edged out onto Pearl Promenade and began to swim. At the bottom, a medicine bottle. And on the bottles, the letters A, F, E. Here, hold Isky for a second. She thrust the merdog into Chignon's arms, opened the vial, and squeezed 3 drops into Isky's mouth. What are you doing, Ringlet? Said Chignon. We don't have time for breakfast, let alone gourmet treats. It's medicine, said Ringlet. She screwed the dropper back in. Enough left for one more dose. Look here, do you, think that things are, fading? Of course not, said Jinyon. It's Derby Day, the brightest day of the year. She swung down and grabbed a handful of pearls. See what I mean? Litter. Madame says I'm the only one she trusts to tidy them up. She's got a trash can with a lock on it, just in case. In case of what exactly? In case of a jewellery emergency. I think you've had a bad dream. Here, grab my hand. We'll swing above the oysters and you can reoxygenate. How long have you known Platito? Said Ringlet, weaving in and out of plodding mollusks. Ages, said Shinyon. Things were difficult back home, so when I saw the advertisement for an assistant, someone with initiative willing to learn. Learn what? At the moment, I do errands, said Shinyon. I'm lucky she never runs out of things for me to do. What was difficult? Said Ringlet. Back home. A wistful look came into Shinyon's eyes. Home, she said. We'd seen the signs. Our village was on the edge of the Nexus Ridges. The whole town, all the dwellings, were unanchored, you see. So when Shinyon's voice faltered. When it happened, and it was very slow, you understand, some folk got out on the last vestige of the dwindle current. But others weren't so lucky. The whole village floated off and disappeared. You've got no family then? I've got Madame. Shinyon sounded defensive. I don't know what I'd do without her. Yes, but she never pays you, she never says thank you, and she never gives you time off, said Ringlet. It's not fair. Perfectly fair, said Shinyon. Because I, did have a day off recently. Well, I guess I lost track of time and, wandered off too far. Well, lucky for me that she came along and found me. And next time, which she said there won't be, I will hopefully learn not to be so careless with my time management. Quickly! She spread out her arms. Let's grab the sticking story current right here. She took off and Ringlet tried to keep up. But with the size of La Pouf made it difficult. She wobbled, and the current caught the wobble, and everything became quite unstable. Shinyon stopped a short distance ahead, huffed and frowned, and waited for Ringlet to catch up. We're getting even more behind, said Shinyon. That hairdo has a lot to answer for. There's more to life than schedules, said Ringlet. I'm being stared at, and this time it's because I'm gorgeous. I need to at least do a twirl or two, not disappoint the fans, you know. The only person we need not to disappoint is Madame, said Shinyon. And where's Iski? Behind the sandbank, attending to, personal hygiene issues, said Ringlet. Can we, give a minute? No, we can't, said Shinyon, who had her slab in one hand and the pearly letter in the other. And it's not on the list, so it's not allowed. And we're ultra late, and Madame this, Madame that, said Ringlet. She wouldn't know what a snappy doggy-doo bag looked like if it was dangled in front of her nose. Shinyon pursed her lips. It's an honour to be chosen Ringlet. And no, she doesn't do pets. Miss doesn't do much of anything, if you ask me, said Ringlet. No one's asking you, said Shinyon. She waved her list in the air. And you couldn't be more wrong if you tried. Her schedule is enormous compared to my tiny list. Ah, yes, the list, said Ringlet. Where are you going? Said Shinyon. It's bad manners to swim backwards. Out for conversation, you know. Ringlet glared but kept edging, deliberately slowly to annoy her. Chignon thought. Around behind the ridge of sand. That dog's had enough time for a week of personal hygiene issues, said Chignon. Grab him and let's go. There was a sound of desperate scuffling, followed by a furious flurry of sand and... Yikes! Yelled Ringlet, shooting back into view. Isky's gone! It was true. While they had been arguing, a pickpocket current had sneaked up and snuck him off the sea bank. Is the dog really that important? Groaned Chignon. Because add him to La Pouf, and we have serious time management issues. Ringlet felt a seed of desperation take root inside her. He needs his medicine, she said, and I'm responsible for looking after him. Too bad, said Chignon, glaring. I've decided we're not going after him. I can't go without him, said Ringlet. I can't. I won't. She swallowed hard. There's got to be something on the list about rescuing. No, said Chignon. There isn't. Follow me, and no stopping. Chignon was about to go, but she paused as Ringlet lumbered forwards and grabbed the edge of the pickpocket current. Do as I say, said Chignon. No, said Ringlet. He's my merdog, my one and only, really, truly merdog. In my dream last night, I saw him with me in Ninky's boutique. Whatever potions my mother sprinkled on his tail is me, but I don't know what that was, so I don't know who me is. And that's not a comfortable feeling, so I can't be separated from him. Chignon sucked in her stomach muscles, curled up her tail, and wrapped her arms around her upper body. In the Nexus ridges, speed swimming had been a national sport. She wasn't sure she remembered how to do the onion, but not delivering Ringlet to Madame would be disastrous, and the consequences didn't bear thinking about. Ringlet was delusional. Chignon was convinced of it. Boutiques and sprinklings, unnatural dependence on an animal, and identity issues, and absolutely no sense of taking things off. Nonetheless, Chignon shot upwards into the second-story current and took off in pursuit of Isky. Ringlet did not see Chignon rolling into a tight small ball. She did hear a whistling noise, however, and a few seconds later saw a small spherical shape whizzing past her, the Nexus onion, 10 times as fast for 50% less surface area. The pickpocket current was clever. As Onion Chignon approached, it turned crookedly to look. It tried to change direction, but once an onion is travelling at top speed, there's not much that you can do about it. The onion hit the pickpocket current and splattered it into smithereens. Isky popped backwards towards Ringlet, who had caught up. She stroked his tail. That was a cool trick, she said. Maybe you could teach me. You've made me break the rules, said Chignon, her voice quaking. Madame doesn't allow speed swimming. It's unladylike. It creates unacceptable turbulences. And not only that, it's on the to die part of the to-do list. If she finds out. I'm not telling if you don't, said Ringlet. And you're right about La Pouf. It's nothing but a nuisance. It's the price you pay to be gorgeous, said Chignon. A grin flashed across her face as she swam over to Ringlet. Which you are. You're definitely not an ordinary mermaid. There's something different about you. And I'm not talking about your hair. You're not ordinary either, said Ringlet. I know you love the rulebook, but you've broken at least an entire chapter of those rules. For me, that makes you and my rulebook pretty much a best friend. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Ringlet, because she was wondering how to persuade her new best friend Xinyon to tell her how to do that curl-up fast swimming thing, because there's all sorts of situations where that would become in handy. And Xinyon, because there was a chink opening inside her head, through which a skerrick of doubts was emerging. And Xinyon, because there was a chink opening inside her head, through which a skerrick of doubts was emerging. And she didn't like skerricks of anything arriving unannounced, or the way this particular skerrick made her feel. Xinyon opened her hand and looked at the pearls. "You're looking a bit worse for wear. I'll use these pearls to doll you up. Madame will never notice." "Yes, she will," said Ringlet. "Well, maybe." "I don't care," said Xinyon. She looked at Ringlet. There was a little happy fizz inside of her. "I've got something for you too." Ringlet opened her purse. "Open your mouth," she said, and Xinyon, who thought it was a most peculiar request, but who was trained to obey without questioning, did just that. Ringlet drew out a crumb of memory munchie and placed it on the top of Xinyon's tongue. "What is it, Ringlet?" said Xinyon. She was starting to look anxious again. "It's a lucky dip into your memory," said Ringlet. "It's a bit stale, so it might take a while to work. Now, won't you teach me that curled up something?" "No way," said Xinyon. "It's illegal." She pressed the pearls one by one into Ringlet's hairdo and polished them off with her fingertips so they glistened. "How convenient," she said. "Here comes the friendship current. We can both fit in it together." She grabbed Ringlet's hand and they nestled into the mellow current, and Xinyon was right. It was a perfect fit for both of them side by side. They held hands, and for a short while they did not have to swim at all because the friendship current carried them together. The oceans may have paused, but our adventure is far from over. Join Libby next Saturday at 9:30 a.m. as we continue exploring Ringlet and the Day the Ocean Stopped, by Felicity Williams, published by Ahoy, and imprint of the Cuba Press. Keep your curiosity alive and your hearts open, because the magic, mystery and wonder of the sea are waiting for us in the next chapter on Spin Me a Tale.